Oh, should have said something.
Well, I did. I said not it.
Oh, well.
Hey, we're on live? Do we have a link? Do we have a link? Can we go on? Can we go online first before we start the episode?
Hang on. Event.
Pish posh.
Links, come back. Why do you keep disappearing? There we go.
The alt text browser.
All right. Sharing the link in the chat room.
In the chat room.
Which would be the document, which is over there.
The
oh wait, no, he actually did.
Move your mouse to the left of the screen. Go all the way up to the top. It's the blue little thing that says chat. When you hover over it, there you go. In chat.
Copy. 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 Give me a second. Let me get this thing online.
I suppose I have the chat window open. Typing it.
Paste. That looks like a YouTube link.
Yep.
And posting it has been.
He is posted. Posty oats.
And do we have movie? Hello?
Hello?
There it is. Wait, Wendy's Wendy's link went live. Okay, now mine's live. Okay, good. Yay!
What? Oh.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna just hashtag whore here for a second. There we go.
Oh, you hashtag whore.
Yeah, I also retweeted from 4 other accounts.
Nice hashtag you have there. Wear that off.
And get a countdown.
5, 4, 3.
Hello, world, and welcome to another edition of The Geek Life here at thegeeklife.tv. This is episode 117, week of September 29th, 2014, recording on the 30th of September. I'm Fess, and with me, joining from left to right in the chat room here, we got Melissa Kirscher.
Hello.
Paul.
Hello.
I don't know how to say your last name. Michael Town.
Give it out.
This is devolving very quickly.
Wendy.
It's like the park.
Yes.
And that is what we have for this week. And how about we just go ahead and start this off with video and film.
Video and film. Not a whole lot coming out brand new this week, although we do have Transformers: Age of Extinction. But in catalog titles, it gets much more interesting because everything has an anniversary this week. Like Gone with the Wind has a 75th anniversary Blu-ray set coming out.
Wow.
There's also a big Once Upon a Time in America Blu-ray release that's an extended cut, which kind of baffles me because Sergio Leone is dead. There's a Krull on Blu-ray.
The director's ghost cut.
Yeah, the director's ghost cut. But Krull's on Blu-ray if you need Krull. Because everybody needs Krull, honestly. And Leprechaun has a big box set because, Halloween's coming up. And Interview with a Vampire has a 20th anniversary Blu-ray. 20th anniversary Blu-ray, Interview with a Vampire. I feel old.
It's been out for 20 years?
Yeah. I remember, I think that may have been the first movie I saw Brad Pitt in.
Ooh.
Likewise.
Yeah, and then Halloween has a super huge box set coming out this week. Also, Saw has a box set. Everything's got a box set. Exorcist has a big blue box set. Blu-rays.
The top should turn around. Sorry.
I know, right? And I don't think it does. But in things that aren't box sets, we've got Elmer Gantry with Burt Lancaster and Gene Simmons. Hooray! On Blu-ray.
Not that Gene Simmons, the other Gene Simmons.
Yeah, that would be a very different Gene Simmons. And
very different
I
movie.
always have to wonder for just a moment.
Jean Simmons, the woman, Gene Simmons. Though I'd paid serious cash money to see Burt Lancaster and the other Gene Simmons in a movie because that would be really entertaining. And then, get this, Distant Drums with Gary Cooper is out on Blu-ray. Why am I interested in that? It's the first movie to ever use the Wilhelm scream. That is where the Wilhelm scream comes from. The character is named Wilhelm, and he dies, and he screams, and therefore, Wilhelm scream. From Criterion, they've got some fun stuff coming out on Blu-ray. We've got Sundays in Cibele. We've got Ali Fear Eats the Soul from Fassbinder. You have Roman Polanski's Macbeth, and The Innocents, all coming out on Blu-ray. In glorious, shiny Criterion box set. Well, not box sets, but, you know, everything's box sets this week. What the fuck? It's all box sets.
Oh, yeah.
The Criterion box set, everything Criterion in one box. If
oh my God, I would buy that. I would buy that so hard.
If you can lift it, you can take
If you
it home
can
for
lift
me.
it, I would work out. I'd work out a lot. But the thing that I'm really super excited about, there's a box set. Seriously. It's of all of the Jeremy Brett Sherlock Holmes TV series.
Nice.
All of them in one box on Blu-ray.
Ooh.
Yeah. Best Sherlock Holmes ever is Jeremy Brett, and if you don't believe me, you have not seen the Jeremy Brett TV series. It's amazing stuff, and yeah, so you can get it all on Blu-ray. It's great. And the only reason they stopped making it is because the man died.
Good reason.
Well, yeah.
Was that-
back?
Well, that didn't stop the real Sherlock.
I was going to say, you bring Jeremy back through cloning, and
If only. If only. Not so much going on for title of the week. We do have like unpronounceable titles of the week or tongue twister titles of the week because we have, you know, starting off easy with Wild Women of Wango, but moving on to Gustafer Yellowgold's Wisdom Tooth of Wisdom,
okay.
which is touted as Dr. Seuss meets Yellow Submarine, which makes me really wonder about the children watching this thing. But finally, we have Looters, Tutors, and Sawn-Off Shooters Cellar Dweller. I will do that again. Looters, Tutors, and Sawn-Off Shooters Cellar Dweller.
So that isn't two titles?
Question. Tutors, T-U-D, or tutors...
T-O-O-T.
Orphan as in frequently, or orphan as in
Toot.
someone who's
Like,
lost
like
their
the
parents.
train goes toot toot.
Say
Okay.
it
Unless
again.
you're
Say it
in
again.
northern Minnesota when it goes toot toot.
No, say it again. What is the title again?
Looters, Tutors, and Sawn-Off Shooters Cellar Dweller.
Is this about hunting? Is there a semicolon in there or a colon?
Hunting with lots
Any
of beans.
punctuation.
There are two commas. I will let you guess where they are. Looters, Tutors, and Sawn-Off Shooters Cellar Dweller.
So it's not a Harvard. Or,
No,
or Yale.
well, no, there is an Oxford comma because there is a
There's
comma
an Oxford-
before the and.
Okay, so it
That
is
is an Oxford comma.
Okay,
Yes,
that helps.
yes.
Are we talking tutors, lots of beans, or
I don't know. I don't know. It's British.
lots of
I-
beans?
Mad
Still could go
clarinetist.
either way.
I'll get you! Blam! Sorry.
No, you're not.
You're right, I'm not. It's the Minnesota sorry. Shouldn't be robbing your own house. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And that is what I got.
Oh dear.
Looters, Tutors, Sawn-Off Shooters, Cellar Dweller.
I almost want to find that.
Well, you can buy it on Amazon. Somebody take it from here.
Oh, are you done?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
TV.
I am. I said that's what I got. I got
Alright.
nothing else.
A couple of related topics for TV. Well, TV movies and things like that. Fox delays another Fantastic Four movie because we can't get enough of Fox making Fantastic Four movies, and succumbs to the internet wanting Deadpool instead. Because the leaked trailer for Deadpool was better than all 4 previous Fantastic Four movies put together.
So, as an aside to this, I don't have the graphic available yet because it's over on Google+, but somebody did a wonderful sarcastic thing of 4 panels of parents with their kids. The first one is the kid dressing up as one of the white Green Lanterns for Halloween going, "White power!" The next one is, "Dad, I've bought every single one of the Starfire comic books. Is that okay?" And Dad has sweat running down his face. And another, I forget what the other one is. Oh, one is like just really violent comic some kid has drawn. But the last one is, "Mom, I just found my poster of Harlequin. It smells like Dad's tool shed." And then the last panel is, The new 52, causing awkward conversations for parents for the last since 2011 or whatever.
And that's a comic from the webcomic Gutters, actually.
Thank you.
If you can get the link and just stick it in there, and I'll make sure other people see it. Aside from
just
that,
stick it in there.
yeah, just stick it in there.
Stick it in there.
All
It'll smell like the tool shed soon enough.
right. So, in better note, how do I say that? Gennady Tartakovsky is heading up Sony Pictures Animation Studios with the upcoming CG Popeye movie. And there's a little bit of an animation test. You can go to bleedingcool.com and see the video there. And we get to hear Tartakovsky talk about how he's loved Popeye since forever. And the animation, it is an actual animation test, he says. It's not a trailer or anything. And it's actually pretty kind of interesting. I really like the style they went for in the CG that they're planning on doing. And Comic of the Week. We're going to go into comics. I just got Comic of the Week. And this is a Comic of the Week that is picked by, I don't know, the last 3-4 people that I've interviewed on the Webcomic Beacon who've all recommended to go to see the comic Blind Springs at blindsprings.com. And so the art looks pretty amazing, but I have yet to actually read it. But it comes highly recommended, so that's my comic pick of the week. And I think I'm the one who put the next one on here. So, does somebody else want to take this one?
I don't know
so
anything about it.
There was a big announcement today.
Yeah.
Microsoft, to quote, sorry, I'll try not to be too loud so I pick up on Wendy's mic here, but Microsoft basically announced today that they're going to continue to sell the Windows operating system and make money off it. And make new versions. that was the Twitter summary somebody did. So, Windows 8 hasn't been too hot, so of course they announced a new version of Windows, Windows 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
1, 2, skip a few.
yeah, well, there's Windows 7 was arguably not Windows 7, especially if you did a version call and it came up 6 dot something something. But yeah, Windows 10 was announced today. Various features, various interesting features. One of the biggest things they announced is something, well, a couple things, but the biggest thing is this doesn't come out until 2015, but there will be one Windows. In other words, what they mean is you buy a Windows phone, you buy a Windows tablet, you buy a Windows laptop, it is all Windows 10. Period. So they claim. They'll be continued to cross, and it'll just be one operating system monolithically to rule them all.
I thought they already tried that, and this is
They
the
thought
reason
that
why.
there was still
such a
Windows
pile of
Phone 8.
crap.
No, Windows 8 was for laptops and tablets, but there was still Windows Phone 8, which was separate and actually decent, though similar UI as Windows 8. In fact, Windows 8 essentially got its cues from the Windows Phone team. But now it'll be one thing. The other thing they did is they brought back the Start menu. They brought back a more Windows 7-like interface and basically something they call Continuum, which is Windows will detect what you're doing. So let's say you have one of those, like a yoga or something where you can take the keyboard off and it turns on a tablet, it turns back. It will switch modes for you. So when you have the keyboard and interface devices attached, it will be in standard Windows 7 looking mode. If you take the keyboard off, it'll say, do you want to go to touch mode or something like that? I don't remember the exact thing. And it will go to, you hit the start button and the tiles will come up, like in Windows 8. And now you'll be in a Windows 8-like mode. And it will actually switch back and forth, and they call that Continuum. They were very careful with this one. They were like very hand-holding the Windows 7 users along during the announcement is what I heard, and very targeting enterprises, saying it'll be it'll be okay to upgrade to this. It's not going to be radical like what we did before. The biggest thing that they announced in all of this, in my opinion, the most important thing, is you will now be able to finally do Control-V into the terminal window or into the DOS window.
Oh.
Sorry.
Hooray!
Yeah, OS 10 for years. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, when you bring up like the standard DOS or terminal window, if let's
Nobody
say,
cares, old man.
you did a copy. I just
use it
have
all the
it
time.
because this is 2013, and one of their big features they announced. They purposely said we're going to get really nerdy here, but one of the big features they announced was you can now copy and paste into the terminal window. Thanks, guys. Or the command window, as you would call it.
You sure it's not too little, too late?
I could anyways. You just gotta use the mouse.
We gotta
The
use the
right-click
special,
paste.
right? Or use the little drop-down menu. But now you can use the keyboard, like all those Mac users can.
I can drop it in edit mode, right?
Windows
click,
10,
paste
OS
everything.
10.
Just like putty. But okay.
Yeah, so Windows 10 was their big announcement. A lot of interesting things. The real, actually, honest big thing is, as of tomorrow, the technical preview will be available to pretty much anybody who wants to agree to download it. There's probably some licensing agreements and understands you're downloading a really early beta. And they really want this to go through the ringer for the next year, because they said late 2015 is when they'll come out with it for production. So they want people to who will report back bugs and everything to really get in there and start whacking away at it. So they're pretty serious about this from that point of view. So I think they're kind of trying to do the we're sorry, here's what we're going to do about it sort of thing.
So I'm assuming it's an MSDN release then, too?
No, you go to the website and you say, I'd like to be part of the early release.
Okay.
It's outside of MSDN. And the Windows 10, one of the other theories there is by the time it does release next year, anybody who felt kind of burnt by Windows 8, your average person going into a store and buying it, will go, oh, Windows 10, well, there must have been 9. I've totally forgot about that, but this must be so much better. We're 2 releases down now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Worked for DBase. There was never a DBase 1. For those who are, that's the old fogey comment. I remember DBase. And I know what, I know that there was never an Ashton and a Tate. The guy who started DBase thought sounding like a law firm was a good idea. And he called it DBase 2 because nobody buys version 1. It was all marketing. So I think it's a little bit similar here. That they're skipping on just to distance a bit.
Just because.
Yeah, well, we start checks in the hundreds first, not with 1.
And to be honest, if you're a Windows person, this is really interesting stuff. If you're a Windows developer, there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in it. They really have done a lot of neat stuff with it, so we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, I'm pretty much at home in the Mac world, so for me it's like, interesting.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
So that's Windows 10 in a nutshell.
Sweet.
We'll see how soon we move to that in the corporate world, because we just...
Got Windows 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. Windows 7 is solid. It's good. I can't complain about it that much because I kind of got tired of complaining. So.
Oh, you never get tired of complaining. I know.
I do sometimes.
That is lies. That is lies. Lies.
There's like bathroom breaks and sleeping.
Oh, tell the emotional.
No, that's right. I still sometimes argue in bed. So, I don't know. So anyway, new device made to help cops detect texting while driving.
It's called watching the car swerve.
No, it says it can distinguish between data, SMS, and voice, incoming and outgoing, and sure. And there's a link at Daily Dot, and I can leave it at that.
Okay, so my only question is, so they can tell like if somebody's using SMS data.
Yeah.
So are they going to pull me over, and I can just show them actually I'm using Siri to send text messages to someone?
Some states that's still technically illegal.
And what if it's a passenger in the car?
Absolutely, that was brought up in the article as well.
Yep.
Or what if it's really a cookie?
What was the bumper sticker?
Yeah, Mike got that one. Mike got that one.
Yeah, so as Wendy just reminded me, there's the bumper sticker, honk if you love Jesus, text if you want to meet him.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, I see problems with this device, if it exists.
Yeah. I know I won't vote to fund it, so... But, yeah. All right, I think we're done with the regular news. On to why everybody's here today. Fantastic Fest.
Yay!
Yay!
My wife, yay!
Yeah, Wendy and I were at Fantastic Fest for like the last week and a half, and Wendy has turned into a walrus.
Well, it's one of those things you do. Full walrus.
Yeah, full walrus. So, for those of you who have just tuned in, Fantastic Fest is a film festival in Austin, Texas, run by the Alamo Drafthouse and cohorts. And it is kind of the heavy metal mosh pit of film festivals. It focuses on mostly international films, but some U.S. films of genre types. So, sci-fi, horror, action movies, anything that usually don't find at things called film festivals. So it's a blast. There are parties. There are famous people wandering around. There are free tattoos at the closing night party. Usually there's grievous injury to somebody who's very drunk and in the name of fun. And this year there was a piñata that was filled with Zack Snyder, and no, not Zack Snyder, Zach Carlson. Wrong Zach. But anyway, there was a Zach that fell out of a piñata, and with candy, and stuff like that. It's a very surreal time, but we saw a lot of movies, and that's what we're here to talk about. Would you like to take it for a while, Wendy?
Well, you're used to doing this. I figured, if you give the structure, I will join in where appropriate or something like that.
Well, you had a
where do you start, at the beginning?
Yeah, you had a day badge too, so you saw fewer things, but you also saw different things than I did. But we could start with Tusk.
But we both saw Tusk.
We both saw Tusk, and pretty much everything started with Tusk because that was the big opening movie, and Tusk being the new Kevin Smith movie, and it's a horror film, sort of.
And it struck me that was about the perfect film to start Fantastic Fest with.
Oh yes,
and it's the perfect crowd to see it with.
Yeah, it's a very odd movie. For those of you who aren't familiar with what the concept is, Kevin Smith's podcast, he and was it Scott Mosier who's on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So. They just kind of got off on this tangent one podcast where they started just throwing random plot ideas at a wall and just giggling madly over them. Like, there's this guy and he gets captured by this rich dude and he gets turned into a walrus and and all this stuff. And they had such a fun time with it that all the listeners of the podcast kind of pushed them to actually make the film, and Tusk is what happened. So indeed, it is a movie about a podcaster who goes into Canada and to interview a guy who winds up kind of taking him hostage and modifying his body into a walrus.
Yes, and this is the official walrus mask of Tusk.
Yes. I did not save my walrus mask. I probably should have. But the guy who gets turned into the walrus is Justin Long of I'm a Mac, I'm a PC commercials and Galaxy Quest fame, which is kind of interesting. And but the best part about Tusk is that it contains a lot of Michael Parks, and Michael Parks
it definitely does.
Is awesome, and I can watch a lot of Michael Parks. Michael Parks as the big baddie, that's pretty great.
Yeah, if you're used to Kevin Smith films, I think you can safely say that this has some moments in it that are as good as anything he has done ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every once in a while, it's like he finds his footing, and it just like, oh yeah, that's what makes Kevin Smith Kevin Smith.
Yes, and unfortunately, then it goes off into a 15-minute monologue.
Yeah.
The pacing is really uneven.
Yeah.
But it was a fun crowd to see it with, and Kevin Smith was actually there, and we got almost an hour-long question and answer session with him.
Mm-hmm.
It was fantastic.
he's always fun to listen to. He's a very interesting guy to hear interviewed. But the other thing about Tusk is about halfway through the film, a character comes in that's completely bizarre, and I think the actor is uncredited and basically unrecognizable. But by the end of the movie, you go, "Is that? Oh, it is."
He is credited as the character.
Yeah.
The character's name is Guy Lapointe,
Yeah.
and he is credited as Guy Lapointe.
Yeah.
But if you look carefully at the credits, you can figure out who he is because his daughter is playing one of the other characters.
Yeah. Or if you look at IMDb.
Well, yeah.
You know, but that's cheating. Anyway, it was a fun way to open the festival because you got to see Justin Long turned into a walrus.
And he was there too.
Yeah, he was. He didn't
And he
get
was
to talk
actually
much.
wearing a walrus suit for part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. As you do at Fantastic Fest.
Yeah. The mask was a bit closer to this than the one he had in the movie, but I gotta remember not to look over here when I talk to Paul. I have to look at the screen. Okay.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. What else did you see, Wendy?
Oh, I was like heavy on the documentaries. This
Me
year.
too. There were a lot of
Okay.
documentaries this year.
The movie I'd been waiting a couple of years to see, Electric Boogaloo.
Yay!
The wild and I forget exactly what
The Wild Untold Story of Canon Films.
Yes.
A documentary about the late, great Canon Films. Which I've also been waiting for since 2012. It's a documentary by Mark Hartley, who did Machete Maidens Unleashed about the Filipino film industry and
Not Quite Hollywood.
Not Quite Hollywood, about Ozploitation films. So now he's done one about Canon Films, and it is wonderful. And it makes you want to watch everything that Canon ever made because it's just daffy and goofy, and I think he said they interviewed about 90 people. They got in front of everybody they could get their hands on, with the exception of Golan and Globus themselves.
Who had decided to go off and make their own film. So.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me somehow.
Yeah, well, it's you find explanations for it within the documentary, but
wait, we get a chance to make a movie.
Yeah. Let's see if we can beat it to release. Yeah, it's pretty great. It's this wonderful oral history of Canon Films as told by many, many, many people, and it celebrates the highs and the lows, and it just kind of has this verve to it that just makes you want to watch all this crazy stuff.
Yeah,
that got
and
produced.
it was nice because they talked to a lot of people, and some of them were like, wow, this was a really bad situation for me, or they totally shredded my script, or this was insane.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't we hate them and we're going to burn their house, we'd like to burn their house down. All of the people involved, and now some of this may be the time that has passed since they made their films, but all of the people seem to acknowledge that, yeah, like Menahem Golan Globus were film fans. They wanted to make films. And they didn't let, lack of taste or lack of script or lack of money or lack of stars get them down. They were just going to plow through it and make films. And everybody seemed to have a fair amount of respect for that, if not for the actual films that were turned out.
Well, yeah, and I think the documentary struck this nice balance of here's why Canon Films was kind of awesome, and here's why it all fell apart for really good reason. And it's not an outright celebration, but it's not a vilification of Canon Films either. It's a very, very nice balance of both. So it was very much enjoyed. The other great thing about having Electric Boogaloo at the festival is they got a few prints of some of the craziest Canon films to show at the festival as well. there was a newly struck print of Death Wish 3 that I saw. And it's one of the most beautiful 35mm prints I've ever seen of this utterly trashy, bonkers movie, in which, the original Death Wish was a legitimate revenge film, starring Charles Bronson, and, it's, kind of hard and gritty. Death Wish 3 is out in La La Land. It is just wanton destruction, and, it was really kind of a treat to see it with a Fantastic Fest audience. They also had Ninja 3, The Domination, I think it's called.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is a gloriously terrible film.
Which has very little to do with Ninja 1 or 2.
Yeah, and there's an aerobics instructor who gets possessed by the soul of a evil ninja, and thus becomes a possessed demon ninja. And for some reason, there's a possessed arcade game in her apartment.
Well, that happens all the time.
Oh yeah, totally. And there's her cop boyfriend, I guess, who is growing his own sweater, and it's pretty ridiculous.
So I noticed you post about this too, but essentially this is the movie that tries to, in the 80s, hit every meme it knows exists around it at the time.
It's like they took a checklist of everything that they thought was important to people in 1985. Feathered hair and leg warmers, jazzercise, and ninjas, definitely ninjas, Japanese stuff, demon possession.
Katana, lasers with katanas and shuriken.
Katanas, yeah, and cops.
Cop boyfriend. That's a
cop boyfriend.
Yeah. What's going on with you?
And this woman has the most inexplicable apartment decor ever. It's amazing. There's like a basket full of marbles. On top of her refrigerator, there's one of those spinning ventilation dome things. I already mentioned the arcade game. There's like a Nagel print that's on an easel.
Well, it's the 80s. There's got to be a Nagel print.
Well, I can understand the Nagel print, but why is it on an easel in this weird little apartment? And
was she supposed to be an artist?
Landlord let her pound her nails?
And the telephone was a payphone in her apartment.
Of course, New York.
So anyway, I was really delighted at that. What else?
Now, did you get a chance to see Lost Soul?
I did.
You did.
Great. Did you?
Yes.
Oh, yay.
And I think that is possibly the movie I have been thinking the most about since coming home, since the festival is over.
Yeah.
Lost Soul is the story of the making of The Island of Dr. Moreau.
The 1995 one.
95? Okay.
95-ish, yeah.
90-something, anyway.
Yeah.
And the story of it starts with the director Richard Stanley, who had loved this story since he was a kid. He had vision. He knew how he wanted to do this. He'd worked with an artist. And he was all set to do this at a fairly reasonable budget. Follow up to low-budget independent films he had done that were fairly well thought of. I have never seen either of the two films.
And you didn't get to the screening where they gave away the Blu-rays, did they?
I did.
Oh, you got hardware? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, they gave everybody copies of hardware. Anyway, please proceed.
But he had this idea and found somebody to produce, found some backing, and they said, okay, we have to find a studio. And then there the trouble began. Because the studio said, well, you need to make it American. You need to make it bigger. We'll give you the money. We'll get Val Kilmer. We've got Val Kilmer. We get Marlon Brando. and he was holding things together. It seems like the studio really didn't think he was worried that he was not capable of this because he was an independent film director. He'd never worked with as large a budget, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Except everything was against him.
Mm-hmm.
The weather was against him. Marlon Brando's daughter? Was it daughter's son?
Oh no! Well, Marlon Brando's daughter committed suicide a few days before he was due to show
Right.
up for the shoot.
So they were trying to shoot around him.
Mm-hmm.
He and Brando had hit it off. He felt everything was fine with Brando, but because of the death of the daughter, they figured, okay, we'll shoot around him. Well, Val Kilmer had just come off Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd been in Japan, and everybody was fawning over Val Kilmer, and Val Kilmer was about as full of himself as he probably was at any point in his career. And long story short, well, too late for that.
Well, this is
Basically,
I will set this
Okay.
up by saying this is like the first quarter of the movie.
yeah, this is the story is about Richard Stanley, but we have to take a major digression because the studio pulls him off. They give him a ticket to go home.
Mm-hmm.
They say, well, we're bringing in another director.
Yep.
He disappears into the bush.
Mm-hmm.
He never gets on the plane. He and the studio freaks, but, goes and gets John Frankenheimer.
Mm-hmm.
And for all his experience, Frankenheimer doesn't have any better time with it than Stanley did.
Well, the whole. There were so many things going wrong by that point
Oh,
that
yeah.
Frankenheimer couldn't pull it out of.
Well,
and Frankenheimer's kind of an asshole, so he wasn't able to, pull the cast together either. So this is where you get the more legendary stories of this troubled production, where, Marlon Brando's just fucking with people. Like, I think I'm going to wear white face paint every day, and I think I should wear a bucket on my head filled with ice, and I think I will wear this gauzy sort of gown where you can totally see my man go through it, and some poor CGI artist has to manually paint out my genitals.
Which I gather Richard Stanley hadn't heard until Fantastic Fest.
Yeah, he had never heard that story until Harry Knowles told him at Fantastic Fest. So that one didn't show up in the movie. But yeah, the movie is kind of this big oral history about the whole production. So it's, even though Stanley was the instigator and figures heavily into the story, it's also about pretty much everybody else who was involved. And they talked to
it's amazing. They talk to people at the studio. They talk to drivers and extras. They just got a huge number of people.
Mm-hmm.
And Richard Stanley does re-enter the picture.
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah, it's worth watching the movie just to see how it all turns out. And you know what? I kind of want to watch the movie again now, just because now I know more about it.
Yeah, I'm
terrible as the island of Dr. Moreau is. It's
Well, if you have a copy, you're welcome to come over with it.
So let's see what else. Oh yeah, and Richard Stanley was at Fantastic Fest, so it was kind of fun watching him wander around in his kind of cowboy goth outfits and and listening to him tell stories about the castle he lives in France.
interesting fellow.
Very interesting fellow. If you have him sign something, he puts magic symbols all over it.
Oh darn! I should have done that.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Goodness, we both saw Tokyo Tribe, didn't we?
Oh my God! Yes, that was the perfect one to close the festival for me. That
Yeah,
was.
because it's madness. It's absolute madness.
This is a clean podcast, right?
No.
Oh fuck no.
Okay, it is a
If
completely.
I'm on it, it's not a clean podcast.
This movie is completely bugfuck.
Yeah.
It's
It's
that just struck me as the perfect word for it. So
It is utterly batshit insane. It's by the same director who, Sean Sono, who gave us Why Don't You Play in Hell, which played last year, which was awesome, that I really loved. And this particular film, Japanese film, it is the story of Tokyo gangs. It's a musical. It's a rap musical.
Because why not?
Because why not? So you did, and it's a comedy, I think.
yeah,
And
I
it's
think that's fair.
bizarre, and it gets more and more bizarre as it comes along. But it is a kind of rap opera in Japanese, and it's a hell of a thing.
It is.
a hell of a thing.
It's. I.
There's a priest who is seeking a virgin to sacrifice. There's a room full of
That's
knives.
his daughter.
There's and
There's the entire
Right.
Harkonnen family.
there's the entire Harkonnen family, including a kingpin who masturbates with a dildo. Like, he doesn't remove any clothing or anything. He just has a dildo he strokes.
Big green glass thing.
Yeah, and there's a woman
What else
who
would
wanders
you
around
choose?
there's just a woman who wanders around his house beatboxing for no apparent reason.
That doesn't happen at your house?
I wish. It's just.
And you said there was nothing I could do for you today.
I was gonna say you heard it, Fess. Get on that.
Bring it, Fess. It's a hell of a thing. I don't know when it's going to show up on American shores, but yeah.
Or where.
Or where, or when or where.
That's gonna be a tricky one.
Yeah. Let's see, what else did I see? Oh, Wendy, you got to see Order of Disappearance, right?
Yes.
Yay!
That
Isn't
was
that the
lovely.
best? I love that movie. I love it so much.
I'm loving Norwegian films.
Mm-hmm. The Norwegians are hitting it out of the park lately.
Yeah, and Stellan Skarsgård, he makes it an easy. I just lost my train of thought. He makes it more accessible for American audiences who've already seen him in things.
Mm-hmm.
But In Order of Disappearance struck me as something that really should play in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I heard some people comparing it to Fargo. I have not actually seen Fargo. So I know. So
That's my radio face.
but yes, Stellan Skarsgård is a fine, upstanding citizen who lives out in the boonies outside a major metropolitan area, but keeps the roads clear every winter. Has the biggest fucking snowplow you will ever see. Actually, biggest fucking snowblower. I've seen snowplows that big, but the snowblower was impressive.
Yeah.
That was.
He basically has a snow blowing business, and
Yeah.
he keeps all the roads free in that rural area of Norway.
And was voted Citizen of the Year at the very beginning of the movie because he does such good work for everybody in the area.
Yeah, and then his son dies under somewhat mysterious circumstances that he does not believe, and it turns out the son was killed by local drug cartel, and so it's a man with a snowplow and a vengeance, and he starts working his way up the chain of people, and as he offs them, one of the movie's wonderful conceits is that every time somebody dies, a black card comes up with the a symbol of whatever religion that person was in their name, like a gravestone. So every time somebody dies in the movie, you just get this black card come up saying who they were.
And frequently you get their sort of gang nickname and then their name underneath.
Yeah.
Which is interesting for a few of them.
And it is a dark comedy. It is wonderful. It's by the same guys who did A Somewhat Gentle Man, which is also a phenomenal Norwegian movie, also starring Stellan Skarsgård, and equally as good. And everybody was just going nuts over Order of Disappearance at the festival.
And it has great furniture.
And it has the best furniture ever. I will just say it has great furniture because there's no way I can describe that furniture. The drug boss has just the most amazing house.
And he's an interesting character in himself.
Fantastic performance, and pretty much, this is a great film for characterizations. Like, even the little guys who only have 1 or 2 lines in the movie, the random thugs, have personality. They're not just throwaway people. It's really fun film to watch. Really fun. It just gives me all the warm fuzzies. I love that movie so much, and I want to own it and show it to people.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if that comes to Minnesota in one form or another, because it just feels very Minnesotan in some ways. You know, not necessarily the drug gangs. I don't know much about that in the local area, but the snow.
Oh, definitely the snow. Yeah, sure. You
bet.
And the snow plows.
So I say murder by snowplow, well known up here.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, we do not have snowblowers like that. That was a snowblower to be envied.
Yeah, that's for taking through mountain passes.
Yeah,
that was an impressive snowblower.
Speaking of snowblowers,
I knew you were going to do this.
I have a new addition to the house.
You have a child?
It's called a snowblower.
It's an Arian's snowblower.
Arian?
Arian snowblower.
I guess Danger 5 is next.
Yeah.
And
all
kill
steel.
Hitler.
All steel.
Except for the aluminum parts.
No, I was told that there are no aluminum parts in this.
I would check that engine.
That's what it was sold on. Yeah. You don't put aluminum in the engine?
You make the block out of aluminum so it conducts heat better.
So Danger 5.
Kill Hitler.
Kill Hitler. Yes, Danger 5
For
Season 2 was at Fantastic Fest. Well, at least the first half of Season 2.
Yes, we were the first people who got to see it.
We got to see it before Australia. And like half the cast was there too, so that was pretty sweet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the director is incidentally the captain who comes in and tells everybody to kill Hitler in every episode, so that was really surreal talking to him.
And assorted other parts.
But yeah, Danger 5 Season 2 is set in the 80s.
They still need to
And partially in a high school.
Well, there's one episode in a high school. All the episodes are, kind of like previous Danger 5. They're kind of mowing through the different tropes. So now they're taking on the 1980s. Yeah. And it's even crazier than before, if you can believe that.
Mm-hmm. They're doing a continuing storyline this time. So at the end of the first episode, it goes on to the next instead of having the sort of bookended.
Is there still the drink at every episode?
No.
No, they kind of dropped that one. But they have new things. They have new things. Yeah. So that's a lot of fun. I like Danger 5. I like meeting all the guys. That was really neat.
Any clue when it might be coming to like a Hulu, YouTube, whatever?
Well, they have to finish it first.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was still
we only saw the first 3 episodes, and they're doing 4 more.
Okay.
But they were pretty. pretty
Yes, everything I
excited.
thought was done. So.
But
Okay.
yes, season 1 is on Hulu and is highly recommended.
Yep. But season 2 is not finished. They don't know when it's going to air in Australia yet, so it's
Don't
going to
make me
be.
use the sit-down gun.
uh, so yeah. What else did you see, Wendy?
Well, let's see. We could go into the big Hollywood things.
The John Wick, namely.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about John Wick since that's going to be the most likely.
Because I didn't
for
see
people to
Night Stalker, so if you want to talk about that, that's on you.
Oh,
If you
John
saw
Wick.
it. No,
No,
Night
Night
Stalker.
Oh, I didn't see Night Stalker.
Okay.
I saw John Wick.
John Wick. If you want to do a big Keanu Reeves movie, make him a completely emotionless character and surround him by really good actors.
hmm Well, John Wick isn't full of good actors, but Ian McShane.
There's
He's surrounded by really good stuntmen. That's the thing. John Wick is a movie made by stuntmen to showcase other stuntmen, which makes
But
it.
Ian McShane isn't the only good actor in there.
Yeah, but he's in there like that much.
Yeah, I know.
It's just a little bit of Ian McShane.
There's other good actors in there.
Oh, there are. There
You know,
are.
I mean, I realize that Ian McShane, he didn't get 10 minutes out of this film, but he does come out the coolest guy of them all.
Oh, definitely.
Even better than Keanu. I'm biased. I like Ian McShane.
Whoa.
But yeah, we have Keanu as the retired assassin who gets back in the game because some young punk steals his car, kills his dog, and the dog that his recently deceased, as in I think they said 5 days ago, wife gave to him. He proceeds to
Murder 11
basically
people.
just plow through them.
Yeah, one dog equals 84 dead bodies.
Well, the wife points out that he needed the dog because he needed something to love other than the car.
hmm
So, one dog.
So the car gets stolen and the dog gets killed, therefore 84 dead people after that.
Yes.
And that is the actual body count, as according to the directors. So it's a really fun action movie. It might have enough brain cells for one synapse, but that's
it's
about
not a strong plot film.
No. There are points of extreme cleverness, though, because it kind of plays with its own tropes, which is rather nice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's entertaining. I liked it.
Yep.
Also,
Highly
Keanu Reeves was around, which is always a good time too, because he's actually super nice. So yeah, there's that.
Does he have emotions in real life?
I'm sorry?
Does Keanu Reeves have emotions in real life?
I think he's very laid back.
Okay.
I think, if I remember right, he's from Hawaii, and I think he kind of has that Hawaii laid back surfer sort of thing.
That explains much.
Which, I've heard from people who've worked with him that he's had just a terrible life. Like, some really horrible things have happened to him, and and he's just kind of come through that with this really laid back and very pleasant personality because he has a real sense of perspective. That's what I've heard anyway.
Cool.
So anyway, let's see what else. What else did we see? Did you see The Guest, Wendy?
I did not.
Oh, The Guest. The Guest was great. The Guest is the next movie from the guys who made You're Next, which I've been going nuts for ever since I saw You're Next. The plot of the movie starts out with a soldier showing up on the doorstep of a family's home in the middle of rural Arkansas or somewhere in middle America. And the family had just lost their son to whatever war it was. This is set in the present, but they had just lost their son, who was a soldier, and this soldier who just showed up was it says he's a friend of the guy who died. And so the mother invites him in, and this guy who just showed up starts to kind of get in on the good graces of the family. Like he starts, very subtly working his way into the family, and he makes friends with the son and friends with the daughter, and the mother is just kind of pleased to have somebody her son's age around, and dad likes him. But it slowly becomes clear that this guy isn't what he claims to be, and it kind of goes from there. So it's this, I don't know if thriller is the right word, but it's structured kind of like an 80s horror film, but it's not a horror film. It's very interesting, and it's by like I said, it's by the guys who made Your Next, which means it's got this really wicked sense of humor to it. It's got a lot of verve to it. The characters are really interesting, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. And one of the dudes from Downton Abbey, and I can't remember his name, is the soldier dude. So
Yes.
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Look for it.
Look that up while you were talking.
Yeah, I think it's coming out this week, or it's coming out in like limited release this week and rolling through different markets. So it should actually be pretty easy to go see in a theater now. Yay! What else did you see, Wendy?
What else did I see? Well, there's the latest from Studio Ghibli. Or Ghibli. I never know how to pronounce that.
Ghibli. Tale of Princess Kaguya.
Yes, did you see that one?
I did. I
cried.
Everybody cried. Everybody cried. It's a very beautiful, very sad movie. It
is gorgeous. Completely.
It's gorgeous. It looks like it was made with pencils and watercolors. It's just this very simple, breezy animation. Beautifully animated. Enchanting to watch. And it's the retelling of this Japanese folk tale where a woodcutter and his wife find a tiny little baby in a bamboo shoot, and the baby grows very, very quickly into a young lady, and the woodcutter believes that she is a princess and that the heavens are telling him to make her into a princess. And he finds, in bamboo shoots in the woods, all these fine silks and
gold.
Stores of gold. So he's like, clearly the gods are telling me to build her a palace. So he goes off to the city and builds her a palace. And he brings her to the palace and wants her to learn society, and he brings in this this fine Japanese lady to teach her manners and all this stuff. But this young girl has grown up in the forest, and you can tell she really delights in the animals and the trees and being free, and she's just enclosed in this palace. So it's this movie about the push and pull between this girl who just wants to be free and the pressures that society is putting on her in feudal Japan. And it's Studio Ghibli. It's magical, and it's very sad, and magical and whimsical, and everything all rolled up at once. It's gorgeous. Yeah. Let's see what else. I've got about 10 more films that I could talk about. What else do you got?
Let's see. Well, probably the next one of any significance is Jackie and the Kingdom of Women.
This one's on you because I did not get to see that.
Yep. Jackie and the Kingdom of Women is a... I should have read their notes. dystopian comedy. It's not. Is it a dystopia? I guess it's a dystopia. Um, some point in the nebulous future where some chunk of Europe has broken off and has become the People's Republic of Baboon, a French-speaking republic ruled by several generations of women in this family, and they have subjugated all the men. They go around in full hijab, burqa. Thank you. Sort of outfits. Their face is showing, but tense, basically. And our main character is Jackie, who is a young man of around possibly 20, whose dream is to marry the daughter of the ruling general. And it goes from there and shows you some of the... I guess it is a dystopia, technically. But you get Jackie and his chance to fulfill his dream, or will he escape off to another part of the country? They worship horses. And some of the language, it's a French film, so it was interesting reading the subtitling because they changed. They aren't horses; they're horsems. It isn't a forest; it's a forestry. And someone suggested that maybe it was something about how they were changing the language. If it was all feminizing the French, because French words have gender. That may be why it was changing that in the subtitles, but I don't know on that yet. But yes, we have Jackie who becomes the focal point of the changeover in rulers, and a very, very interesting film. This is one of those where when I can say gee, that was a really interesting film, I don't know how to sum it up. But Charlotte Gainsbourg is the daughter of the general that Jackie wants to marry. His uncle is portrayed by somebody who I recognized and can't think of at the moment. But Charlotte Gainsbourg has had some notoriety lately, if nothing else, than for the 5.5-hour film that Melissa sat through.
Yes. One of the things that was at the festival was the 5.5-hour long director's cut of Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac. I wasn't sure if I was going to sit through that, but the opportunity presented itself, and I said, yes, I am a masochist. So Jerry, who is Jerry Bellich, who is down there with us, Jerry and I, indeed, sat through all 5.5 hours of Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac.
And how many bottles of beer did it take you?
12.
So not quite the same as Empire.
No, it was only 6 each, but also 3 vats of popcorn. All we had was beer and popcorn.
Oh, jeez.
And there are photos. They're kind of terrifying. But yeah, Nymphomaniac, you know what? Honestly, I don't know if the word enjoyed is correct, but I liked Nymphomaniac more than I thought I would. It's a very interesting film. I like it more than Antichrist, which I have also endured. It sure got a lot to say, and it has 5.5 hours to say it in. It is beautifully shot. There's a lot of really graphic sex in it. There's a lot of really graphic everything in it.
And Stellan Skarsgård.
And Stellan Skarsgård and Charlotte Gainsbourg. Yeah, it's a hell of a thing. It's a hell of a thing. You could.
It got released too, as in you can stream it or something.
You can watch it on Netflix. Parts 1 and 2 are on Netflix.
No, the 5-hour thing. They just announced today.
Yeah, they're releasing Netflix, the VOD of the extra long director's cut. If you only have like 4 hours to watch the film, you can watch parts 1 and 2, which are on Netflix. And I will say
what
that
parts are missing out of it?
I don't know yet, because I've never seen parts 1 and 2. I've just seen the 5.5-hour cut.
Gosh, you'll just have to sit through parts 1 and 2 to find out.
No, I don't think I really need to do that.
Probably all the explicit stuff is in that last hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, I will say the first half is stronger than the second half. The second half starts to kind of run off the rails a bit, and but yeah, there's just a whole lot of everything in the thing. The best parts or best parts of the movie or parts of the two movies, whatever. There's one scene where Uma Thurman comes in and just owns the entire fucking movie, and she's fantastic. And there's a set of scenes where Jamie Bell comes in and owns the entire fucking movie, and that is fantastic. Like those scenes are just perfection. They are just amazing. And the rest of it, the quality kind of comes and goes. And Shia LaBeouf's in it. Meh.
Sorry, my brain was going, Kill Bill? No, Bruce Lee!
Yeah, from Tokyo Tribe. So yeah, Nymphomaniac is a thing. And yeah, you were saying earlier that I can't remember which movie it was that you've thought most about since. I will admit, Nymphomaniac is the movie that I've thought about most since the festival, because it's like scarred into my brain. Yep. Let's see what else we got. We got more fun stuff. Oh, there was a 35mm print of Bugsy Malone at the festival, like the one from the 70s with Scott Baio when he was like 10 years old and Jodie Foster when she was 12. The noir film that was made entirely with kids and Paul Williams music.
Awesome film.
Yeah, it ends with a pie fight. Therefore, pie fight. That means I got into a pie fight. That makes me very happy. I have now been in a pie fight.
Kid and saw those machine guns. I've wanted one.
Yeah. Pie fight stains clothing.
Yeah, I thought they could have gotten more people in if they'd done it later in the day.
Yeah, probably. Because, there's... It's a lot of fun while you're doing the pie fight, and then there's a moment when you're in the women's bathroom washing your hair with hand soap that going, I have to sit through 4 more movies before I go change my clothes. Oh, my shoes smelled horrifying after a couple days.
Oh.
Yeah. They've been washed now. It's all better. But there are a couple articles of clothing that will never be the same.
Were you part of the food fight first night?
No, I gave out before the food fight started. And apparently it was fun, although they apparently didn't use ripe enough tomatoes, so some people really got clobbered. Ow. Yeah, the opening night ended with a giant food fight with hundreds of people on top of the parking garage next to the Alamo Draft House. I hear it was spectacular. But by that time, I was just tired and didn't feel like dealing with it. Yeah. Let's see what else. What else did we discover? There's a movie called Spring that you should look for. It is a romance. It is a very sweet romance film. It's kind of like a Richard Linklater film, you know, the guy who made Before Midnight and Before Sunset, After Sunrise, you know, whatever those movies are called.
Ethan Hawke and something.
Yeah, Ethan Hawke and What's Her Nose. You know, very sweet romance, except it has a monster in it, which is all cool. So it's kind of like a Linklater style romance with a sci-fi twist to it.
With Godzilla and Rodan.
It's really great. It's really great, and that one was very beloved by a lot of the people at Fantastic Fest. So watch out for it. It's called Spring, and the performances are great. It's very clever. Yeah, it's nicely done. I really liked it, and I'm not into romances. That was a very nice romance movie. I liked it. So just the fact that I like it should be a very big, you know. That, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. The reason I keep ducking off screen here is because I've got a whiteboard over here with all the movies on it, and I'm wiping them off as I get to them. Let's see if I can go through the rest of them super quick. Wendy, jump in if you've seen any of these. Over Your Dead Body, which is the new Miike movie. Takeshi Miike. It's very much in the vein of Audition, which means ladies be crazy. And, you know, when you see a woman in a Miike movie start to sterilize metal instruments, you should run far, far away. But it's beautifully filmed. And it's a movie that features, it's centered around a theatrical production of a very famous Japanese play that the name is Kwaidan, I can't remember the other word, but it's a story. It's kind of this Shakespearean sort of story about feudal Japan where there's a lot of death and people sleeping with each other, and so there's this play, but the movie is also about the actors in the play, and the lives of the actors start kind of overlapping with the stuff going on in the play. So it's kind of like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead with Takashi Miike and Crazy Ladies. And Dismemberment. So it's and it's beautifully filmed because Miike is a master filmmaker when it comes to setting up a shot. So that's a hell of a thing. It's called Over Your Dead Body. I enjoyed it mostly for the really amazing set design. It's amazing. It's worth it just for that. New movie from Ernesto Luis Espinosa and Marco Zaror, Chilean filmmaker who did stuff like Mandrill and Bring Me the Head of Machine Gun Woman, and yeah, Redeemer. Redeemer is the new movie from this guy, starring Marco Zaror, kicking and punching a lot of people. And really, that's all you need to know. You got Marco Zaror punching and kicking a lot of people in a vengeful sort of way. So yeah, that'll probably show up on Netflix in about 6 months and will be enjoyed by all. Oh, and after that screening, Marcus Aurora was there and the director was there, and as I was exiting the theater, this little tiny woman just lunged at me over her table and she said, "Did you like it? Did you like it?" And I go, "Yeah, I liked it. It was a lot of fun." And she goes, "This is my son. This is my son." And she grabs Marcos Aurora. It's my son. You make movie. I'm very proud. I'm very proud. So I had this totally bizarre conversation with Marcos Aurora's mother.
I wonder if she was the woman.
She was about 2 feet tall, and she had great shoulders. Like she worked out herself, but she's this tiny little petite woman otherwise with big curly hair and a thick Chilean accent. And she was very friendly.
I'm still trying to figure out who the nice lady was who held the door open for me when I was coming into the theater, into the lobby from outside, and who had been in The Tale of Princess Kaguya with me. And she's like, "Oh, I saw you crying in the movie. I'm so sad."
That might have
Okay.
been, if she had a Chilean accent, that might have been her. But yeah, she was a hoot. Like, I want to grow up to be her someday. She was pretty great. So Marco Zararo's mother comes highly recommended. All right. Let's see. Saw a great horror movie called The Babadook. It is an Australian horror movie. And some people liked it and some people didn't. And my theory is that the people who the dividing line between these two groups of people comes down to personal experience with mental illness, whether they've experienced it themselves or with somebody else in their lives. Because The Babadook is this horror movie. It's kind of a boogeyman movie. You've got a single mother, a single widowed mother, and her young 7-year-old son. 7-year-old son starts believing there's a boogeyman in the house, and the movie plays very coy about whether the boogeyman is real or not. And it's the whole movie is this big allegory for mental illness, because once the boogeyman is there, whether it's real or not, it starts affecting their behavior. And it's really quite good. The performances are astounding, like just wow. We're talking just ball hit out of the park. The woman playing the mother is amazing. So it's worth watching just for the performances, and it's really well done. And it's a movie, led by a woman, directed and written by a woman. And just it's kind of taking the festival circuit by storm. So Babadook is very
that
good.
One hit a couple of festivals before it got to us.
Mm-hmm.
It was getting very good reviews.
Yeah, very interesting film. I really liked it. Housebound, which I adore. Housebound is a New Zealand film. It is, to step back a bit, I find horror comedies to be really tricky to pull off well, and Housebound is just perfect. It is like a horror comedy that came out of the best of the 1980s. It's got that snap to it. It's smart. It's funny. It's scary in all the right places. It's about. It starts out with a young female criminal who is caught while trying to steal an ATM machine. And she's sentenced to, rather than to go to prison, she is sentenced to her mother's house with an ankle bracelet on, which is, of course, worse. So her mother lives in this big, creaky old former bed and breakfast in rural New Zealand, and this young woman is, confined to the place with her ankle bracelet for 8 months. And the mother is, of course, this, overbearing, gossipy little woman. And they're not getting along. But it comes out that they both have, through their lives living in this house, there have been sounds that they can't explain. Is it haunted? The mother thinks it's haunted. The daughter doesn't think so, but there's definitely stuff going on. And eventually, the parole officer comes by one day and hears that they think it's haunted, and he's like a paranormal geek, so he's going through the house and like wiring it up and shit, and it kind of goes from there. So the characters are fun. It's really funny. It goes in places that you really don't expect. It's a blast. And Housebound is another one of the movies from the festival that I think I'm going to own because I want to show it to people.
I volunteer to be in the audience.
Yay!
Yeah, I wanted to see that one, but they were running it I think they only ran it at midnight or near it, which is not my best time for seeing movies.
Yeah, I saw that one in the midnight slot. And then, super quick, Future Shock, the story of 2000 AD. It's one of the documentaries. It's about the comic 2000 AD, which is one of the few British comics. And British comic companies, I should say, and that was really interesting. Really
Needed
well
more
designed.
De'Aaron Quinch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm one of those odd people that still loves De'Aaron Quinch, even though it's been abandoned by its creator.
Yeah. Yeah. The documentary is good though. I mean, it's a good oral history of what happened to that series, and really visually striking for a documentary. They did a lot of work in bringing the comics art into the documentary, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there was an Indian film at the festival called As Seen by the Rest, which is kind of the Indian. India saw Pulp Fiction and Rashomon and decided to mash them together and put a musical number in the middle and call it a movie. I rather liked it. It's pretty interesting. But the last one I want to talk about is a movie called The Astrologer.
That
Yes.
I want you to get a copy of, because I want to see it.
I have ways. I'm going to see if it works. But, okay, so the story behind The Astrologer. This is a movie that was made in 1975. The same year as another movie called The Astrologer was made. It's not that movie. This is a movie that was made and then promptly forgotten about. It was a movie that was, as far as we can tell, self-funded and self-directed and starring the same guy who... So really, it's kind of like The Room in a lot of ways. The movie was made by a guy who was an astrologer, who made a movie called The Astrologer about a guy who was an astrologer who decides to make a movie called The Astrologer.
That's deep, man.
I know, right?
Was it both shot in analog and digital, though, too?
Well, this is 1975.
Oh,
This
right,
was...
okay.
It's, and it is batshit insane. It is one of those glorious pieces of folk art that it is pure outsider art, is absolutely in earnest. This guy believes he is just passionate about making this movie, man, and he believes he has a lot to say. And wow, just wow. It's a whole lot of wow. And it is one of the sweetest discoveries of this entire festival for me, because this is the sort of thing I need a copy of so I can bring it to B-Fest, because I will be hailed as a conquering hero if I bring this to the B-Movie Festival in January, because it's amazing. The story behind the actual print is that there's only one known print of this movie, known. It was in the Kinsey archives. Yes, that Kinsey, the Kinsey archives, for many, many, many years, several decades, because they maintained a huge collection of exploitation films. And even though there's really not a whole lot of anything that Kinsey would be interested in this movie, at least part of that collection was acquired by the American Genre Film Archive, which Tim League of the Alamo Drafthouse is one of the board members of the American Genre Film Archive, and they got their hands on this thing, and what's this? And they initially thought it was the other film called The Astrologer, but it isn't. And they saw this and went, wow, this is a lot of wow. So they actually did an Indiegogo campaign to just get this thing transferred to a 2K transfer and cleaned it up a little bit, just so they could preserve the one print that is known to exist. So there is this beautiful 2K transfer, which we saw at the festival, of this movie that was just previously lost for 30 years. And it's amazing. I want a copy of it so bad. But it might not get distributed because there are music rights in question.
Mm.
Most notably from the Moody Blues. Why the Moody Blues shows up in the film, I do not know. I don't know what the relationship was between the filmmaker and the Moody Blues, but they were there.
The actual band was there.
No. Well,
He may not have had the rights to the music either.
in the credits it says Moody Blues appears courtesy of, but
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
So you have to approach the band members and force them to sign a document that you don't let them read.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just sign here. It's okay.
You'd think that maybe the Moody Blues would have a sense of humor about this sort of thing, because I want this. I want it.
Well, it's maybe not them, but the whatever label owns it currently is the problem.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, that's what I got.
Yeah, the only other thing I can think of is of interesting note was a documentary called Dwarves Kingdom,
Oh yeah, I didn't get a chance to see that one.
which is about an amusement park sort of place in China that employs dwarves, little people, and they all have to be under 4 foot. I don't remember what. But the filmmaker was there. This was the first showing of it anywhere. And he told us how he'd, over several years, had gone over multiple times, and it was him and a translator, and that was the entire crew. And they went into the theme park. They talked to the different actors who worked there. One of them left the theme park, and they met up with her later and talked to her about life and talked to some of the people outside the theme park. They also talked to the guy who created this, who went on at length about how benevolent he was for creating this for the poor, downtrodden, short people. Because he had seen someone begging in the street, and this had come to haunt him, and he thought, what? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs! This guy is just remarkable. He goes on to explain that his current favorite film is Avatar, and this is why that about 5 miles away from the Dwarves' Kingdom, he's built this giant tree that's just out in the middle of nowhere that nobody drives to go see. There's no park around it or anything. He's just built this for maybe future use. But it's a really interesting piece. The film itself, I think, needs some work before it gets released, but the topic is perfect. And actually, if you go onto YouTube and look for, I don't know, Vice did a piece, did a 15-minute piece looking at this place. It's called like the Butterfly Garden or something like that. But this is the Dwarves' Kingdom. If you look for China Dwarf Amusement Park, you'll probably come up with it. Just one of those, okay, this is one of those things where you go, okay, how does this fit into a genre film festival? You know, it's not horror, it's just, you sit, and I think they pick any film where you can sit there and go, wow.
Yeah.
For, 5 minutes at a stretch. Just, it's a really interesting film about this place and the people who live there and the people who created it and China at some level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fantastic Fest's relationship to documentaries has always been really interesting to me. Like, there was one last year that was it was called Tales from the Organ Trade, which is about, organ harvesting and, people who sell their organs for fun and profit.
Yeek.
Yeah.
There's one this year about slime molds.
Yeah,
see it.
I didn't get to see that. I wanted to see it. It's called Creeping Garden. But yeah, Fantastic Fest will take a documentary if it's about a weird enough subject.
Oh, which reminds me, the final member is on Netflix.
Yay! So yeah, if you want to see a documentary about a man who wants a penis and a man who wants to give a penis and they can't communicate.
That
The
sounds like
Icelandic-
that sounds like a very awkward porn.
Yeah, well, it's not. But well,
There,
like
there
half
are
the San
moments when it
Francisco.
plays like an awkward porn. I got a tattoo.
oh God, that's right, the tattoo. Oh yeah, the final member was that last year? Last year's
ago.
Fantastic Fest, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
The Icelandic Phallological Museum. Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
But well
Yeah.
worth seeing.
I found articles about the dwarf amusement park in China.
So put them in the show notes.
No, people can just go search themselves, I think.
Aw. Aw.
A $14 million project. The little people earn about $147 a month with guaranteed housing, which is apparently much better than what most people in the region are making.
We can quarter them if we need to.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, that's what I got.
That
all
was
I got.
Fantastic Fest, I think.
That was Fantastic Fest.
Hi, Kitty.
Yeah.
Hi,
Her.
kitty.
I didn't come home with the tattoo this year. I could have, but I didn't. Anyone?
Full up. I think we can
wait.
do an outro.
No, we got peaks.
Oh,
Peaks.
I just talked about my peaks for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Got nothing.
Can I do a
Mike
peek?
had something.
Wendy can do a peek.
Yeah, Wendy, go for it if you got one.
Or suggestion? I would like to recommend a podcast of the cinema.
Ooh.
It's called Linoleum Knife. And it's two fellows who are like professional movie reviewers out in Los Angeles, and I enjoy the heck out of it. And if you really want to enjoy a review, yeah, I've been told no, it's not the world's greatest review, but it is about one of the funnest, most fun reviews out there. Go back into their archives and find their reviews for Ayn Rand,
The other one, Atlas Shrugged.
Atlas Shrugged. Yes, the 3 parts of Atlas Shrugged. Oh, those are a hoot.
There are 3 now.
Mental?
Yes, there are
Yes.
3 now.
With 3 different actresses playing the main character.
Oh.
The plot, the cost goes like this. But their initial, I agree with Wendy, their initial review is hilarious, especially as it Alonzo, who didn't see it before. It's Alonzo Duralde and I forget the other one.
And Dave
Dave.
White.
Alonzo Duralde, who never read it before, starts going, but what if I want to be the engineer on the train?
No.
Oh, no.
No,
Sorry,
no,
Dave.
you got
Dave
him-
starts doing that.
that's
What if I want to be
Dave.
the engineer on the train?
That's Dave.
What if I want full dental? What if I want to work on the railroad all day long? Just starts kind of tearing it apart like that. It's just funny.
Mocking it.
Wow.
But I
Yeah,
do
it's a good
recommend
podcast.
their podcast. I find it very entertaining. They're up to date with their reviews because they are, like I said, professional reviewers. And I support them enough that I sent them money and got myself a T-shirt. So
Yay!
one of these days I'm going to actually have to remember to find out what the reference is that for Linoleum Knife. It's a movie reference, but that I haven't paid attention to.
Is that at linoleum-knife.com?
I suspect it is.
All right. Well, according to your suspectations, I will put that in there, and if it's wrong, I'll blame you.
Now that I'm off mute, I'll go, your mission, Melissa, if you choose to accept it. What is the movie reference?
Yes. Mike, do you have a peek?
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Minecraft recently just because, work's been busy, and I need to decompress somehow. But I stumbled across, in looking for a way to build something, I stumbled across this little web series by a user on YouTube named Dataless822. But he does some really good videos just in general on stuff Minecraft related. And there's one web series that's been going on for a little while now. They're like almost 60 episodes in now. But he and another user called Mr. Red, they have Data and Mr. Red's Survival Saturdays. Basically, they started out on a brand new server in a brand new world in survival mode, because that's all he works with is in survival mode for Minecraft. And so them running around trying to build everything from scratch, coming up with a keep/castle for them to use with a complete underground storage system, automatic stuff, everything, building everything from scratch, dying along the way, sometimes under strange circumstances. Like, oh, somebody just unfortunately just got pushed over the cliff, or whatever. And the banter between those two while they're building things and stuff is just, I end up laughing a lot whenever I've been watching the episodes. So I've been going through it from the beginning. I'm about 20 something episodes in, and I've just been having a blast watching the series, and it's fun watching them and listening, and all of a sudden, oh, some lava just got loosed, and there's Red over there, and Data's like, Red, Red. You might want to move, Red, without really trying not to interrupt him. It's like, you might want to maybe move, Red. And all of a sudden, where's this coming from? And and there's another one where Data's talking about some stuff, because it's all from Data's point of view. It's climbing up a ladder, going up this this mine shaft that they've built, like all the way down to the bedrock, and going up, all of a sudden getting up to the top, and Red kind of nudging him accidentally for something that happened earlier, and you see him looking up and it's falling. It's like, oh, you son of a bitch! It's actually a really fun series just to watch.
I'll have to mention it to the daughters.
You learn how to build some stuff, and it's just fun watching him build the entire thing from scratch. So
cool.
Alrighty. My peak is a show called Blue Blazes, otherwise known as, if I didn't lose it here, Aoi Hano, which is set in the early 1980s. Maruru is a student at the art school in Osaka, and he's full of passion and desire in his pursuit to become a manga writer. He also doesn't lack confidence in his abilities, and basically it's focused around this guy, and he just wants to be the best, and he's just at odds with other basically other people in the art school. And it's actually set in the 80s with actual creators, especially the early founders of Gainax Studios. So we have Hideaki Anno, who directed Neon Genesis Evangelion. And so you see like their young personas by these young actors, all just, it's like, I don't even, not that familiar with all these characters, but it's just like, it's as if like this crazy manga was, because it was originally a manga, made into a live action Japanese show, as if it were an anime, because it's got like all the little trappings of facial expressions and just reactions, monologues. It's just freaking hilarious. I mean, you can see the first episode on this website. I'll link the website that you can watch it on, and if just check out the first episode. If you don't think it's freaking funny and worth watching, then you probably won't like the rest of it. But it's slowly still being updated and everything. So, I think I just watched like episode 8 or 9, where several of the characters that end up being the actual founders of Gainax Studios they were doing the animation opening to Daikon 3 in the show. And that's apparently I've been doing some research. It's a little bit of a famous opening for this basically otaku convention, and basically using a whole bunch of copyrighted characters inside, so they couldn't actually release it legally anywhere. So there's like they bootlegged it essentially. Yeah, but it's really interesting, and it's like the opening song. The opening song is like it has that total feel of that late 70s rock, early 80s rock and roll. So it's like you feel like you're transported back a little bit too. So that's kind of fun. So that's Blue Blazes.
I got a super quick one.
Oh.
I do.
Oh.
Frequent listener to the podcast, Tree Lobsters, has suggested a peek, and I will happily peek this. It is a children's book called Bunny and Demon Go on a Picnic. It is a small bunny and a demon who decide to go on a picnic.
No.
And it's made by Tree Lobsters. Oh. So he wrote it, and Celia, what's her name? Celia Yast, I believe, did the artwork, and it's very interesting. And I will link it in the show notes. You can actually go buy it and preview the first 15 pages of the book to decide if you want to go buy it. So, yay! That's it.
Awesome. Well, I think that brings our episode 117 to a close.
We are not calling this 117. You have doomed us all.
If Microsoft can count from 8 to 10,
we are better. We are better than Microsoft.
This is episode.
I think they got more money than us.
That doesn't mean we're not better.
We're better. We are better.
Well, okay, hold on. Maybe they're counting in base 9.
Oh, don't start.
No.
It's been tried.
No.
It's Windows 2. It's in binary.
Whatever it is. Fess, this is not episode 117.
Or 116. Whatever it said originally. This has been the Geek Life.
This has been the Geek Life, and it's not episode 117. Fess.
Whatever.
Aw.
Now you've hurt his feelings.
I gotta go back and change the show notes.
Oh, darn.
Oh, darn.
Oh, no.
Mr. edits the show notes.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, that was...
36.
Sure. All right. 1, 2, skip a few. 99, 100. So that is it for this episode of the extra long special episode of The Geek Life here at thegeeklife.tv. You can check us online at, you already know where that is, but you can email us at thegeeklifetv@gmail.com. Leave us a voicemail at 1-612-567-6515. Facebook, The Geek Life. Twitter, at The Geek Life TV. And Google+, The Geek Life Podcast, which you can also find the YouTube account in which you can see our live shows. Or you can just go to thegeeklife.tv for the MP3 podcast. This has been Melissa.
Bye-bye.
Paul.
Adios.
Mike.
Later.
Wendy.
Thanks for having me.
And me. I'm Fess. See you next time.
Bye. Bye.